Dramatically, I don't think there's any medium better. First of all, it did what television doesn't do. It made people listen and pay attention, because as we are talking, the great majority of our public may well be wandering about the room or up to something else. But
if it's
on radio, they couldn't follow it at all unless they were really following it.
That's true, and the imagination really had to take over. That's why a lot of things on television they could never do as well. For example, I don't think on a television show they could do a horror or mystery type of thing as well.
No, because your own imagination would do it.
Because they can't create those special effects that's in the mind all the time when you hear it.
Suspense. This is the Man in Black, here again to introduce Columbia's program, Suspense. From Hollywood, we bring you as star, Mr. Orson Welles, who this evening begins a 4-week engagement as guest of these proceedings. In the interest of prime suspense, Mr. Welles and the producer of this series have scheduled 4 radio stories which they feel are particularly distinguished in our chosen field. The first of these is The Most Dangerous Game by Richard Connell.
Back in 1935, a teenage Orson Welles got an early radio job on The March of Time from William Spier. In late 1943, Spier was at the helm of Suspense on CBS. That September 23rd, Welles began a month-long partnership with Spier, starring in 4 consecutive episodes.
I haven't much time. Any moment now he may come in, and when he does, I'm going to kill him. It's him or me, and I'm going to do my best to make it him. Oh, maybe it sounds crazy to you. I guess it does. It would have sounded crazy to me a few days ago when I was with Whitney on the yacht. I was on a pleasure trip. Ha! A pleasure trip! How could I or anyone realize then the horror and torment I was to go through? How was I to know of Ivan and the death swamp and the hounds? How was I to know of Zaroff? Think of it. It was only 4 nights ago that the ship went down. We'd been talking about this island, Ship Trap Island, Whitney said it was called on the charts. He was sleepy and started on down below to turn in. I was mixing myself a nightcap when I looked up and saw it. A tremendous reef racing at us out of the fog. I screamed out a warning, but it was too late. We were right upon it. I alone was standing safe out on the prow, but the force of the explosion hurled me into the blood-warm waters. Terrified at the suddenness and surprise, my stomach weak and sick at the thought of the others. The sea was eddying furiously around the sinking remnants of the ship, and a certain cool-headedness came to me and made me swim desperately away, or I might not have lived to go through the horror which was soon to come. I struck out to the right in the direction of the island about which Whitney had been telling me. I had no recollection of how long I swam, but all at once I heard the muttering and growling of the sea breaking on the rocky shore. With my remaining strength, I dragged myself from the swirling waters. All in, gasping, my hands raw, I at last reached a flat place at the top. I flung myself down at the jungle edge and tumbled headlong into the deepest sleep of my life. When I awoke, I was in a strange place, having no idea how I had done it.
Well, Ivan, our friend seems to be awakening.
Where is this? Where am I?
Do not be alarmed, my friend. My man Ivan found you out on the cliff and brought you here to be taken care of.
Oh, well, thank God there's life on this island. I hardly believed.
Few people do. Yes, you are quite safe here in my castle, Mr.
The following Tuesday, he appeared on Bob Hope's NBC Pepsodent show.
Thank you. And now, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce one of the real geniuses of the theater, Mr. Orson Welles. Here he is, right here.
Thank you very much. I presume you're Bob Hope.
Why, yes, I am.
Well, go sit down somewhere. I'll call you if I need you.
Yeah. Wait a minute. This is my show. I'm supposed to be right here. What do you think Pepsodent is paying me for?
Mr. Hope, there are some questions even a genius can't answer.
Yeah. I'll bet somewhere in his family tree there's an ensign. But I want to tell you, Orson, we're very glad to have you with us tonight. I've always wanted to meet you. You know, people say that you resemble me.
Yes. In fact, I'm becoming known as the Bob Hope of this generation.
Yeah. That's a fine thing to say to the youngest man in this room, mentally. Say, by the way, Orson, what do you do?
Well, I'm a producer, director, writer, and actor.
Well, what do you do for a living? Say, they tell me, was that me?
That's you, yeah.
Me next. I had that egg all to myself, didn't I? Oh, thanks.
I'm glad it was you.
Say. Wasn't that cute? I was standing there scrambling that little kid all by myself. And I looked at you. I thought you were next, and I followed that kid. I'll fix that tomorrow. Say, they tell me you got an early start in this business, Mr. Wells.
Bob, I was so young when I went on the stage they had to change me more often than the scenery.
And you're still a pin-up boy to me. But tell me, what are you doing these days, Orson?
I'm going to England very soon to make a picture.
Oh, you're pulling my leg.
I wouldn't dream of it, old man. At your age, those things come apart.
Now, wait a minute.
I am going to England, Bob. I am going to England.
Tell me, let me know when you're leaving for England. I'll give you a note to the king.
Oh, are you and the king good friends?
Good friends. Orson, do you know where I slept in Buckingham Palace?
Yes, damp down there, wasn't it?
Well, when you go to England, I suppose you'll do your magician act for the boys over there.
Yes, I will, Bob.
Well, you know, Orson, I think you're the greatest magician in the world.
You really think I'm a great magician?
I certainly do. 50,000 bachelors in the country, and you make Rita Hayworth disappear. Hey, tell me, what did you do? Pull her out of your sleeve?
There is a limit to what you can do with magic, Bob. I couldn't any more pull Rita out of my sleeve than you could pull Mussolini out of your baggy pants. Or whoever that is hiding in there.
Well, where do you keep your butter? Say, but, You know, Orson, I'm a little jealous. After all, I was going with Rita first. It was a pretty steady thing.
You were going with Rita?
Well, I wasn't exactly going with her. I danced with her once at the Hollywood Canteen until the cops made me take off the uniform. But, you know, before she married you, some gossip was spreading a story around town that Rita was sweet on me.
I know, Bob, but I think you went too far when you had it mimeographed and dropped it from aeroplanes.
Well, while we're on the subject, Orson, you know, I gave Rita a necklace.
Isn't this rather an odd time to bring that up?
Well, I want it back, that's all.
Now, don't get excited about it, Bob. After all, how expensive could it have been? 10 Pepsodent tubes strung together.
Well, a week's pay is a week's pay. But, Orson, your romance with Rita started when she was in your magic show, and you cut her in half, didn't it?
Yes, Bob, I knew it was love the first time I saw her.
Drop the net.
The first time I saw her. Why do I stand here reading this tripe when I could get a good job at Lockheed?
Well, my agent was going to get me a job there, but I refused to let him eat 10% of my lunch. But tell me, do you actually believe in magic and psychic stuff, Orson? Can you read people's minds?
Why, yes, Bob. I might say I'm an amateur mind reader.
Well, can you read my mind?
Bob, I said amateur, not immature. However, I'll try. Give me a minute and I'll transform myself into a mystic. I am now my real self, Swami Wells. I am the great Swami. I see all. I know all.
I'm Bob Hope.
I smell all, too. I will give you a reading. Here, let us sit in front of the crystal ball.
Is this your crystal ball? Why has it got 2 holes drilled in it?
On Thursday nights, I go bowling. Sit down, Bob. I'll read your future.
Now, wait a minute. That ain't a crystal ball. You're reading my future from a grapefruit.
Well, that's the one I use for squirts. I can look in a crystal ball and tell you happenings for future. I can tell you who's going to be in the White House in 1950.
You need a crystal ball to see who's going to be in the White House in 1950?
Yes.
Republican.
We'll hold a seance. Put the lights out. Ready? We are now entering the spirit world.
Can I ask you a question?
All right, Hope. Oh, great spirit, are you there? There's someone here who wants to ask you some questions.
Okay, but make it snappy. I'm in 1A.
Hope, you may now speak to the spirit. He is ready to obey your order.
Fine. Spirit, I'd like to speak to my old granddad.
What was your order?
Old granddad.
Sorry, it's after curfew.
Cologne, are you a spirit now?
That's right, Hope. I am a spirit who sees all, knows all, past, present, future. I have great psychic powers because the ghosts of the great beyond have made me their lieutenant. J.G.
Kelowna, why have you got so many screws loose?
Well, I don't know, Hope. Yes, there was absenteeism on the assembly line.
Kelowna, I don't believe you're in the great beyond at all.
Don't be silly, Hope. Of course I am. I'm sitting here with Cleopatra on my lap.
Kelowna, Cleopatra's been dead for 400 years.
She has?
Yes.
Well, I'll take back my fraternity pin.
Come over here, Kelowna. Come over here right away.
Now, wait a minute. Hope, I'm going to perform my greatest trick. You've heard how Orson Welles saws girls in half? Well, I am going to saw Orson Welles in half. Come here, Orson.
Kelowna, that's my trick. You've never done it before. I'm afraid that there might be a slip-up.
Quit horsing, Orson. I'll bet you $1,000 I can do it. $1,000.
I'll bet. Let's go.
Okay.
Oh!
Well, which end should I pay it to?
Wells's radio star remained bright, and he was busy. That fall, he was guest on Duffy's Tavern, The Fred Allen Show, Radio Reader's Digest, The Philip Morris Playhouse, Stage Door Canteen, We the People, Inner Sanctum Mysteries, and Command Performance.
We thank you so much.
All the radio work served as practice.
This is Orson Welles just saying hello before the show starts. There's a full moon tonight. February 11th is the anniversary of the day Thomas Alva Edison was born. He invented the incandescent lamp, only to discover years later that Spencer Tracy had beat him to it. Welcome to your Radio Almanac, ladies and gentlemen.
At the sign of the Flying Red Horse.
On Wednesday, January 26, 1944, CBS, Mobil Oil, and Orson Welles launched a variety program with comedy, jazz, and a weekly guest star. It would be a true radio almanac. On February 9th, Ann Southern appeared. The Mercury team of veterans like Agnes Moorehead, Hans Conried, and Ray Collins supported.
Metro Goldwyn Mayer, producer of the great hit Madam Curie. Ladies and gentlemen, Ann Southern.
Hello, Ann. Hello, Ann.
Hello, Orson. You know, I don't mind telling you I'm scared stiff.
Well, scared stiff? Why?
Well, aren't you going to saw me in half?
Oh, no, the OPA put a stop to that. They said I was wasting too many women. I'm not just a magician, Ann. I'm a romantic lover.
Oh.
You know, of course, I don't believe it, but they do say that compared to me, Sinatra is just a Boy Scout.
He may be a Boy Scout, but a lot of Girl Scouts belong to his troop.
Well, don't get me wrong, Ann. I'm not envious. As a matter of fact, in my next Mercury Theater production, I've been thinking of doing Romeo and Juliet with Frank Sinatra as Romeo.
Really?
Yes. Can't you just hear him singing on the balcony as Juliet climbs up to him?
Orson, I don't want to criticize an old Shakespearean authority like you, but Juliet stands on the balcony and Romeo climbs up to her.
I know, but Sinatra would never make it. Now, look, Ann, we're doing a scene later, and you'll find out how romantic I am.
Well, if we're going to do a scene together, I'd better give you a couple of pointers.
Pointers?
Yes, now let me show you. Now, put your arms around me.
My arms around you like this?
Uh-huh. Now, say something romantic.
Oh, my darling. What's funny about that? Oh, my darling. I love you with an equatorial passion. You ought to see me in Jane Eyre. I love you with an equatorial passion that no thermometer can register. Oh, my darling, pardon me, Anne. Hello? Oh, hello, dear. What? We're only acting. Of course I don't mean it. Honestly, she was only teaching me something. Oh, I know you can. But you know I do. I said you know. I said you know I do. I can't say it now. There are people listening. I say there are people listening. Oh, please don't be angry. I'll call you later. Goodbye.
Who was that?
My laundryman.
Oh, yes, you've got to be awfully nice to them these days. Now, let's go on. You were saying...
Ah, yes. Darling, oh, yes.
You were saying...
Thank you for giving it to me again. I'll try it once more. Darling, I've endeavored to conceal a passion who's in it. You should see me in Jane Eyre. I don't do this. I have endeavored to conceal a passion whose inner fires are broiling the very soul within me. I'll take it.
I'll take it.
Oh, it says in the script that you will.
Hello? Oh, it's okay. I'll tell him. Orson, your laundryman says he's going home to his mother.
She's always kidding that way.
I'll bet. Now, come on, Orson. Make like Sinatra. Kiss me.
All right, I will.
Orson, who is this character?
This is Mr. P. Bristle, the censor.
I'm sorry, Mr. Wells, but you can't kiss Ann Southern like that.
Why? You know a better way?
He's not allowed to kiss anybody that close to a microphone.
Why not?
Well, the voice is too romantic.
Mr. P. Bristle, what?
P. Bristle.
P. Bristle. Whatever gave you the idea that his voice is romantic?
Well, now, just read this letter.
Dear sir, whenever Orson Welles speaks, I get goose pimples, signed Bella.
Bella, what's the address?
602 Beverly Drive.
Just as I thought. Bella Lugosi.
Well, I have additional proof. Let me show you. Would you three young ladies please step up on the stage? That's right this way. All right, Mr. Wells, say something romantic.
You mean, like this? Darling, I love you.
Orson, pick him up.
Are they kidding? You girls don't really think I'm romantic, do you?
Thank you. Why, he's another Mickey Rooney.
Look, girls, it's ridiculous anyone feeling this way about me.
You send us, Weldy.
He's a killer. Solid, Jack.
You see, I wasn't lying. Now go on, say something romantic.
Say something romantic, like I adore you.
Wellsy Picasso.
I can't understand it.
That's because you're a man.
Thanks.
How would you feel if you heard Hedy Lamarr say, I love you?
Ann, pick me up.
Oh, girls, can I join the club, too?
Yeah. Just sing the theme song with us here. When we heard Frank Sinatra, we all gave out with yells.
Gave out with yells.
But we're through with Sinatra. Now we swoon for Orson Welles.
For Orson Welles.
Our lives were oh so useless, like boats without the oars.
Without the oars.
But now our life's worth living
when he says obediently,
But Welles was soon in battle with his sponsor, Mobil Oil, and the run was short-lived. The Orson Welles Almanac went off the air after July 19th.